Alright, a bit of a departure to start this one. Let's just show you. Remember, I've said in the past that if you muck up a few of your watercolours, which you will, don't throw the paper away because you can use them for oil painting, acrylics. So I'll just show you several I've just dug out because I forget I had these. This is Seawall. It's a place on the west coast of the Cherbourg Peninsula. Didn't do it on the spot, I did it from a photograph. This is one of Bosham. I've done several of the salt marshes around here. That was done from a sketch that I did. I don't do a lot of sketching, really, not as much as I should do. Most of my drawing is reserved for or confined to doing the basic sketches for what I'm going to paint. When I'm doing oil painting, of course, I paint with the brush. That was down at I can't remember the name. It's Ganall Creek in near Newquay, the other side of Newquay Harbour. Fabulous part of Cornwall, North Cornwall. This is before you get to that bit. That's Watergate Bay, the Newquay. Not right. I've guessed that really. I've just put in the rocks. It's the rock formation that fascinates me. The actual colour. There's another one of it. There. Oil paints. It's a terrific surface watercolour paper. That could be Seven Islands, the ones I started to do when I began this project in January. And so don't throw your stuff away. Keep the failures, and they live again. Well, of course, you could always use both sides of the paper, as I do. Now I'm going to do a simple line and wash of these cottages on a quayside, a few steps down, rocky foreshore, a bit of sand here, distant house on the far shore there, bit of distance, and the major departure is to go back to I haven't done this for a long time, to go back to the old original Ron Ranson idea of squeezing out wet paint onto your white surface butcher's tray. The oil of that, the gum arabica is separated from the alizarin crimson. The only problem with this is that it all gets a bit swimming with water, and when you stop painting for the day, your paint's going to go dry. So you're back to where we have been painting with a dry palette. But these are only ideas. You make it up as you go along. Now the drawing I'm using a bit of black Indian or black waterproof ink and a sharpened stick. That's all it is, just a bit of packing case or something. So I've done a rough pencil sketch. So just roughly put it in over the pencil. Oops. Can't see that side. Just wants to be very, very rough. You don't want any clear, clean lines. A few windows in here, door, and that one comes down there. I just sandpaper the edge of this. And once you've got your lines on, you can use the drying ink as for texture. I'll show you that in a second. Just put that in. Just putting the outlines in. If you pull it off, these can be very attractive. Seawall here. A bit more ink. Yes. Put the rocks in. I'll do these with a card once the paint's on. Oh, see, it's a nice random stroke here, random shapes and textures, and then we'll look at this one in here. The light will come this way, I think, if I remember. And we've got these trees here, just adding a bit of detail. And then we've got this distant bit here, just a tree there for sure. Slate roofs, and we want to put a couple of boats in, we can stay away from portraits, because it's discouraging if you're not as good as you want to be. So keep things simple, make simple statements, and try to do them well, of course. And with practice, it gets easier. But remember, there'll always be people better than you, whatever you do in life. As an artist, I've learnt that the people whose work, when you look at it, makes you want to give up. It's so good. And look at Rembrandt. That makes you want to give up. Right, that'll do. Let's put my stick aside. Put my little ink. I have a quick swig of my tea. I'll give those a dry, because it's not waterproof until it's bone dry. So we'll wet the sky first, and then I'm going to keep the colours quite simple. Or in other words, I'm just going to use 3 or 4, if I can remember to use 3 or 4. The more you put out, the more you want to use. Alright. My colours: lemon yellow, raw sienna, alizarin crimson, light red, ultramarine, burnt umber, Payne's grey, and this burnt sienna down here, so, which I'm going to put in. So look, you see you've got colour immediately. Good strong, thick, straight out of the tube. Let's get that all over there. Right, don't forget, always have a cloth handy to take the excess out of your brush. We'll put in a bit of blue. Right, nice and easy, bit of grey in there. Coming down. Just putting in the water, just the colours of the sky, and then a bit dark on the top, so we've got nice wet colour, so we can get nice rich paint on there. Right, we cut the paper, give it a stretch. A bit harder up the top here, in there. Hope it doesn't go to a cauliflower. Right, clean the brush. Clean the bottom of the paper off. Let's give it a quick dry now. As usual, work from the back to the foreground. So next to go in is this distant bit here. Same colour as the sky, but want it to look really distant. I'm going to paint round the objects. And then we'll put in a bit of warmer colour underneath all that. Sorry, this is me concentrating on trying to keep the horizon straight there. And underneath that I'll put in a bit of raw sienna for a bit of a beach. The one advantage with this tray is that it's light. It's got a large mixing area, but it's heavy to hold for it at the time. So we'll put this beach in there. And under that we'll put the shadow of the beach underneath it. Pull out the loose bristles. I keep threatening to scrap it because it's losing a lot of hairs now. I'll straighten those up. I can clean that edge up when it's dry. Now I want to put in some nice colours there, so I'm just going to use a bit of blue and burnt sienna. and then I'll put in some darker colour. Autumn. And I want some dark around this here. The base, I can use a bit of Payne's grey with that burnt sienna. It's a good, Payne's grey is a very good mixer with burnt sienna and blues. So just bung it in there. Provide a base. Oh, that's my ink there. Now you'll notice that the ink, whereas it was a great contrast between the white, as you start to put colour around it, it loses its intensity, its contrast. So I'll just wet that a little bit. Okay. Now I can always just etch out a trunk or two. Yeah. Now I reckon I can attack the roofs now. So I'll wet the brush, and I'm just going to use a mixture of the blue and the grey, but I don't want it too solid. Now we'll I can put a bit more dark on there. Oh, it's coming here, so we'll remember to put the shadow, so I probably can't now because I've put that too dark. And so put it in now. Well, it shows up on that one bit, a little bit. Clean that off there. Right, now a bit of a warm sienna colour for these. And we'll put these, this side, in a warm dark, because this is in the shadow. And on here we've got a sort of fainter blue or grey, but darker than the background, of course. And the darker side here. And I reckon we can put some of this sort of colour on there, but I won't use the egg for that. I'll just a looser mix of the burnt sienna and the grey. Oh, it's a bit too dark. I just paint around there. I'm just going to put in this shadow on the roof there, just draw that in. Under there. Probably just a little bit too insistent there, let's just reduce that a little bit with a bit of water. Now we'll put in a bit of light red shadow mixed with the ultramarine under there. And a bit of reddy sienna for the brickwork on there. And then a bit of dark on there. Now some windows. Now we'll attack these rocks. So with that we'll use well, a bit of darks, reds, a bit of blue. You see what happens, like you can get your colour very quickly. So we'll just put those in. A bit of rich raw sienna. Right, now with the card, we'll start to model that. Catching the light. You can't leave this too long because it will dry and then you won't be able to etch into it. I'll put a bit more in there. That's better. Now the seawall will have that just a bit sort of an umbery grey, fairly light. And now we'll do a bit of detail in here. Bit of dry brush. So we'll use the grey and the blue. We'll just show something going across here. Put a burnt umber over the top of this here, good beach colour, and I'm going to bring it into that blue there. Right, now we're going to put some shadow or reflections under the boat here. Doesn't really show that, does it? So I'll just paint the hull in a bit there. That's better. Let's have a look at the screen, see how we're doing. Right, so I reckon some boats going, a bit of a bluish sort of boat going across here. No, I won't. I'm going to use a bit of white with my gouache. I'm going to put some sails up there, a bit of registers. Okay, that's quite light there. It might not, but we'll see what happens. Nice and thick. Quite large because they've got to be in scale with the house behind. They don't want to be too small. And then we have to put in one here. I'll now put in some figures. I reckon here. Red, I think. All in scale with the houses, and I'll just dry that. I reckon we could put in a figure or two here. Just adds a little bit of interest to the proceedings, so we don't want them too large, but I haven't left any lights really, any light areas in here. Well, got a bit of white on the palette, so now I'm going to leave that out in this instance. I'll just put in some, just a bit under there. Oops. I know I can put a figure, I can put one in here. Yeah, that's okay, that adds, doesn't it? I'll sign that and we'll put it in a mount to see what we've done. Now, this view doesn't exist anywhere. It's just an imaginary scene. So let's just put some branches in there. Right, we'll put it in a mount and we'll have a look, see what we've done. The nice thing about this size of this butcher's plate is that it does give you a nice mixing area. It's easy to clean. Right, bear with me. Right, there we are. There we are, simple line and wash, which is what we'll call it. Let's move my light a bit. Right, let's zoom in. Go a bit more. See, now I haven't over elaborated anything. I've just, the trees. Oops, I've tried to keep it as rough as I can, to make it look as simple as I can, to make it look as if you could do it. Simple beach, there's the figure, there's figures by the house. Alright, let's oops, zoom out. So have a go yourselves and see what you come up with. Just a stick, sharpened to a point. And don't use too much ink on it because it might flood. You could use pens, all sorts, anything that makes a mark, but anything that makes a mark that makes it look random. We don't want any great calligraphy with these things. You can. I mean, there are wonderful artists that can do whole cities in pen and ink. There are those people that use light boxes and projects onto their paper. It's all fair. I mean, we're producing works of art at the end of the day. But that looks quite clean. I'm quite pleased with this. They look like rocks, just about. These, I love the colours. The burnt sienna mixed with a bit of blue and a bit of grey. I've not used any lemon yellow in this, and I haven't used any alizarin crimson. A tiny bit of burnt sienna, burnt umber in the beach. That's about it, really. A tiny bit of light red to make a bit of shadow here. And that's all we've done. So the main colours here are burnt sienna, Payne's grey and ultramarine with a touch of raw sienna and a touch of burnt umber. That's about it, really. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Bye bye.